Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is headed to the White House to ask for more weapons, and one of the big asks this time is Tomahawk cruise missiles. At the same time, President Trump is talking to Vladimir Putin.
I did actually say, would you mind if I gave a couple of thousand Tomahawks to your opposition? I did say that to him. I said it just that way. He didn't like the idea. He really didn't like the idea.
And he's even dangling the summit in Budapest in front of him. If you squint, you can kind of see the chessboard, weapons on one side, diplomacy on the other side. The question here is simple and dangerous at the same time. Who gets what leverage and at what cost? If you notice, I'm dressed a little bit differently today. I'm actually going on, I have a bunch of TV news appearances today just to talk about this subject because it is October 17th, 2025. Volodymyr Zelensky is in Washington, D.C. right now. So I have a bunch of news appearances that I have to do about this. I'm going to explain what the Tomahawk missile is, some of its features, how Ukraine can actually fire the thing, and how it's kind of baked into the strategy of the war. If you're planning a trip to England to visit the island or a trip anywhere, you need to use Saley. It's an eSIM or digital virtual SIM card that replaces physical SIM cards in most devices. Saley pre-negotiates data rates with cell carriers around the world so you only pay one data rate when you travel. Whenever I travel overseas, Verizon charges $12 a day for international roaming. With Saley, I pay one rate, lasts the whole trip. I used it in Israel. I paid $8 for a week of data. I was in Canada. I paid $5 for a week of data. There's no reason not to use Saley unless you just like wasting money. You download the Saley app before you go. You sign up. You pick your plan. If you have a regional plan because you want to visit multiple countries, there's no need to switch plans. It is really convenient. Verizon's Travel Pass is $12 a day. Why wouldn't you use this? It literally pays for itself. Get an exclusive 15% discount on Saley eSIM data plans. Download the Saley app, use code McBeth at checkout, scan the code on screen right now to get started today. Okay, first off, what is a Tomahawk missile and why do they matter? Tomahawk is a long-range precision strike subsonic cruise missile. It contains either a 1,000-pound warhead or 166 submunitions. It's a strategic strike tool that can hit targets 1,000 miles away with some pretty surgical accuracy. That kind of range changes the calculus on the battlefield because it extends reach really deep into an adversary's logistics. We're talking fuel depots, command posts, places that matter to a war effort. We're at a point right now in Ukraine where the lines are pretty much frozen. Neither Russia nor Ukraine has the troops to exploit a breakthrough, so both sides just kind of toss drones at each other, hoping one side collapses first. The problem is when it comes to collapse, Russia is more likely to collapse in Ukraine because Russia's economy just needs a little push right now. And, I've often said, this isn't a question between winning and losing. It's a question of losing and losing less. Both Ukraine and Russia will lose this war. The question is who loses less. Right now, the cost of a barrel of oil today, as of the last time I checked, is $57.02 a barrel. So today, it's $5 less than it was when I shot my I was wrong about Ukrainian drones and Russian oil video. So that's $5 less money Russia's getting for every barrel of oil it sells. The bad news is that it still costs Russia $45 a barrel to pull that oil out of the ground. So now they're getting even less money than they did before per barrel of oil. So when Zelensky goes and asks for Tomahawks, he's not asking for a trophy. He's not asking for something he can put on display. He's asking for an ability to raise the cost of Russia's oil by striking Russian refineries, which will hurt Russia economically and politically. There's only so much oil Russia can sell. If you are using 100 barrels a day and Russia offers to send you 110 barrels a day, you probably aren't going to buy it because you don't need it, right? It's kind of like that old South Park skit about Walmart and Time Cop.
Dude, check it out! Time Cop on DVD. 3 copies for 18 bucks. Wait a minute, I don't even want 1 copy of Time Cop.
And if Russia can't find a buyer for its oil, then it can't get the hard currency to pay and feed its troops. If you're a soldier and you haven't been fed in 2 days, and there's a village a couple kilometers away, it's awfully tempting to roll into that village and confiscate food. I mean, If you have no food, but you have a gun, pretty soon you're going to have some food. And that's one of the reasons Assad's army collapsed so fast in Syria. Men in the rear who organized the logistics heard about advancing militias because they had access to radio, TV, internet, and they just left their post. Then the guys at the front line, after 24 hours, they stopped getting food, and so they leave, either searching for food or saying, you know what, if I'm not going to be supported, screw this Assad guy. And that's how Russia collapses. If you have an entire front line that's sending men to the rear to scavenge for food, it's a hell of a lot easier for Ukraine to fight starving men who aren't at their post than men who are supported logistically, even though Russia has traditionally done a bad job supporting its men logistically, although they have gotten better. Now here's where it kind of gets technical and where most TV panels stop explaining things. Tomahawks are primarily a naval missile. They live in sealed canisters in a ship's vertical launch systems, or they come from vertically launched from submarines. You can't just hand a Tomahawk to an army unit and say, here you go, have at it. The missile is launched vertically from a canister, then it kind of transitions to cruise flight. The canisters are the trick. So how would you actually give Tomahawks to Ukraine? Well, there's really two possible paths. The first path is ship-based launches, like lease Ukraine a United States ship, or NATO or U.S. ships could launch Tomahawks as proxies for Ukraine. That's not going to happen. I'm just saying it because it is a possibility. That's something you could do. But that's one of those escalation red lines. I only mention it because Russia might claim that NATO ships are doing that as part of their bot propaganda. Second thing you can do is containerized or ground-launched Tomahawks. This is one of the thing that the technical community has been focused on. The missile already exists in a sealed canister for ship use. These same canisters have been researched for ground launch. So there was this idea a while ago, like, well, the Tomahawks are already in a canister. Let's put them in 4 canisters, drop them in a 40-foot shipping container, and then bolt the thing to the deck of a littoral combat ship, and you make the littoral combat ship a missile truck. But then someone was like, yo, dog, I heard you like missile trucks, so I put a missile on your truck. And that became the Typhoon. The XMAV and other mobile launch concepts were on display recently at AUSA when I was there, and companies are pitching these mobile systems designed to carry mobile Tomahawks. So basically, you take this shipping container, there's Tomahawks in it, throw it on the back of a truck. You can drive anywhere in Ukraine and launch missiles into Russia. 2 points on the containerized approach that matter, like politically and practically. Number one, this takes time and logistics. Tomahawks aren't a rifle that you hand over at the front. You need launchers, trained crews, secure communications, integration with targeting networks, ample quantities of the thing for persistent effect. Like a handful of missiles is symbolic, which is fine. But to change a war's trajectory, you need sustained strikes, especially on the oil refineries. That costs money, munitions. And you also need protection from counterattack, and mobility should help with that. Number two, it changes the target set. If Ukraine can strike logistics and energy infrastructure deep inside Russia, Russia will probably respond in kind or attempt some sort of escalation. I don't know how further they can escalate now. They don't need an excuse to launch missiles and drop bombs on Ukraine. But that's why the Tomahawk decision is as much of a diplomatic issue as it is a military one. Putin and his people have already warned about escalation if the missile flow increases. That's why Tomahawks are pretty useful as a bargaining chip. They are leverage, not just weapons. Which kind of brings us to the diplomatic playbook. Zelensky walks into the Oval Office to make a case. More range, more deterrence. Trump is sitting on a potential meeting with Putin in Hungary. If you're the American president, you have options. Give the Tomahawks to Ukraine, to give him some cards.
You don't have the cards right now.
Right? Or hold them back and extract concessions from Putin at a summit. Both choices tell a foreign leader something about U.S. resolve and U.S. priorities. The danger here is kind of familiar. When talk to Putin and you risk rewarding delay, arm Ukraine, you risk escalation, whatever that means. Trump has kind of like towed this line before he's come up close to imposing penalties on Russia, and then he kind of steps back after some private calls. It's kind of like running up to someone in a boxing ring and like, I can take you. But, then leaving the opponent in their place. Like, the result is kind of more time for the adversary to regroup. So what does a U.S. approach actually look like? Well, using Tomahawks selectively maybe giving Ukraine a few Tomahawks just to say we did, and they can target oil refineries. You also have to build the delivery package around mobility and secrecy, so we might not say when these missiles actually arrive in country. Ukraine has its own long-range cruise missiles like the Flamingo, and the Tomahawk could be a good complement to the Flamingo, even though the Flamingo's warhead is freaking nuts. It's I think 2 times as large as the Tomahawks. Third thing here is like they can kind of position this within a diplomatic framework, like you hand over your long-range strike capability, and then you go to Putin and say like, hey, you guys need to stop this war. We're going to give even more missiles to Ukraine. And, there's one final reality check to actually arming Ukraine with lots and lots of missiles. We don't have that many Tomahawks. We just fired a whole bunch of them at Iran. There's only a finite of Tomahawk missiles that are in the inventory and a finite number that can be produced every year, and we're going to need those things for China. Elbridge Colby, who has the biggest war boner for China, if Elbridge Colby can sabotage this deal, he will. He'll be that guy in airplane who pulls out the runway lights as the plane is landing, right? Only he won't be kidding.
Just kidding.
So what should we take away? Zelensky's trip is urgent and understandable. He needs weapons to pressure Russia. Tomahawks are tempting because they offer strategic reach, but delivering them requires more signature. It requires launchers, logistics, training, a diplomatic backstop. This is going to be something that happens over the course of months. President Trump's outreach to Putin, on the other hand, is the other half of the equation. It can be used to lock in gains, or Putin might try to trade talks for time. It's kind of the tightrope he's walking with Washington right now. If you want a one-sentence version to tell your neighbor, giving Ukraine Tomahawks can change the battlefield. Oh no, it's another game changer. But only if we accept the political costs and follow through with logistics and diplomacy. Otherwise, it's a headline, not a strategy. And we also have to keep Elbridge Colby away from the cancel button. Hey, if you want to support the channel, ryanmcbeth.substack.com, $5. You can also get one of my Intel Life t-shirts. I'm not wearing one today, but I'm about to go on TV. And thank you guys so much for watching.
In the modern age of progress and preparedness, one thing separates the professional from the amateur: appearance. That's why forward-thinking Americans choose Bunker Branding Apparel, the official uniform of those who get things done. Each shirt is precision-engineered and field-tested under rigorous conditions such as extended YouTube filming operations, Substack editorial duty, and the occasional internet argument. Designed for comfort, durability, and undeniable sense of tactical cool. So remember, citizens, when you're defending democracy, refueling freedom, or simply mowing the strategic lawn, Bunker Branding keeps you mission-ready, wrinkle-free, and unmistakably American.